Kyler Staley joining us now as well. We're talking in the break about John. You'd asked if you thought that Antoine Davis won the 3-point contest, and Susan says yes, he did win that. So thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. Appreciate you listening as well. So that's pretty cool. Man, I mean, that's capping it off, man. Mm-hmm. That's capping it off. Mike Davis was on this a while back, and I didn't tell him that I didn't want his. That would have been. I'm glad, not because I don't want someone to achieve something, but that would have just been. I was a little wonky on that. That's a touchy subject, I guess. Talking about the record, the scoring record, NCAA all-time scoring record held by Pistol Pete Maravich since the early 70s, in which he averaged 44 points a game for over 3 seasons, and the fact that he only was able to play 3 seasons was crazy. But that's that. But yeah, that was not. But he addressed it, and which was way cool. And speaking of basketball, my God, I don't know if it's busier during the tournament or busier right now. It's probably busier during the tournament, but right now it's just you need a scorecard to keep up with, whether it's Chris Ludlam or now you got Kalel Ware. So many names that are popping in, popping out. Dalton Connect, Zoom meetings, Caleb Love. It's a new name, and people are just frothing for information. Which some of these answers aren't going to come as immediate as people would like.
No, I mean, it's going to be, for these guys, most of them, unless you're, Peyton Sparks, who it was a no-brainer for him to go to Indiana. A lot of these guys are going to take their time. This is basically like they're being re-recruited. So they're going to go on visits. They're going to take all the Zoom calls and everything. A lot of these guys have, 20, 30 plus schools, reaching out to them and everything. So they really want to find the best fit. Will they come in and play right away? Where is, the coach's head at? Where do they, what are their goals and everything like that? But, Indiana, it seems like as of late, they've really hit the forwards, the posts pretty hard. You mentioned it with Ware and Ledlam on campus today. 2 pretty impressive, athletic, post players, that can do a lot of things, and, are coming off really good seasons at both Oregon and Harvard, guys that were ready, to make a jump and make a transition into a much bigger role, into like where they want to play and things like that. But Indiana's really, I give credit to Mike Woodson. He's really, zeroed in on what he needs, what this Indiana team needed to improve on. He knew that, the post play was going to need to be replaced. And he knew that, there was going to be wings and guards that he needs to go in, and he needs to get playmakers. And that's what he's doing. I mean, you look at, the guys that, have just recently popped up. We mentioned Ware, Ledlam, the Marshall Center, who's got an extremely hard last name for me to pronounce. Micah something. So I'm not even going to attempt that. But and then you got the VCU transferred Jalen Deloach. Yeah. I think that's how you pronounce him. I mean,
yeah.
A guy that, he's a really interesting person. I know, and he's got a visit set up for, I think, next week. I think the 14th and 15th of April. He's another guy that, is a great rebounder. And that's what, when I look at the forwards and the post that Mike Woodson's looked at, I look at, he's really zeroing in on rebounding, and he's really zeroing in on guys that can protect the rim and everything. So, Indiana's got a lot of options. They're still waiting for Xavier Johnson, to see where his waiver is going to be at. I would expect the NCAA to kind of make a decision on that sooner than later. But Mike Woodson, the staff, they're really hitting the portal hard, and that's what you wanted to see out of them.
Yeah, as with 4 spots yet to fill, and obviously specific needs to fill, and nothing is bigger than shooting. So obviously the wing position is something Indiana needs to attack hard, as they have here. But I think that they had another guard as well. Obviously, talking to Caleb Love, but he's one of the few guards that I've heard them talking to or about. You have Gabe Cupps coming in, but he's a freshman, so you can only expect so much from a freshman. Whether he can perform above that, great, but don't put unnecessary expectations on a kid like that. But we don't know what they're going to end up with, and but they sure seem to be in on a lot. They're getting visits, they're getting attention from these people. So at the end of the day, it would sure seem like they're going to end up in good position.
Yeah, then you mentioned about the guards. I would expect Indiana to add at least one more guard. I think they have a lot of faith in the progression of CJ Gunn next year. You also you have the potential returns of you have the return of Trey Galloway. You have the likely return of Xavier Johnson. And then you throw in Gabe Cupps, who, he's going to be one of the first guards off the bench, I would assume. And then you also have Ja'Kai Newton, who could be ready to play right away. He's got the body, he's built, he's got that, that high major Division I look. And he's just a great player. He's a smart player, elite scorer. So you're going to look at those guys. As far as the transfer portal, they're going to probably add one more guard. And then in the wings, they're still, hitting that pretty hard. They realize that they need more shooting. It doesn't look like Jamison Battle is going to be the guy that they're going to go after. It looks like he's trending towards Ohio State. But there's a lot more wings out there, a lot more sharpshooters that they're looking at. So Indiana's definitely got the needs. They know what they need to fill, which is great. And as an Indiana fan, you should like that they're attacking the portal hard, unlike they did last year, which they really didn't need to last year. But, they realize that there's a lot of stuff that they got to fill. So it's the portal. I mean, it's going to take time. It's going to fill out and everything. But everyone's just got to be kind of patient and see where these kids land.
Yeah. Any new names that we haven't seen or heard much of that's popping up that we haven't talked about?
I wouldn't say any new name. I mean, granted,
they'll be coming. Don't worry.
Yeah,
stick around.
like every day there's a new name. So I mean, if you follow Verbal Commits on Twitter, they every time someone enters the portal, they tweet it out, and there's obviously a new name, and then people are reporting, these are the kids, whoever the kid is, it's the list of schools or whatever. But as far as new names, I mean, we kind of mentioned a little bit of new names. I think the Oregon transfer was a newer name, and then you throw in the sharpshooter. You mentioned him earlier. I think he's from North Colorado or
Northern Colorado, I believe.
Yeah. So he's a newer.
Is that guy. Dalton Connect? Is that Dalton Connect?
Yes, that's him. So yeah, I mean that's another wing guy that Indiana. Obviously, he's a sharpshooter. He shot it well from behind the arc last year. So yeah. I mean, there's going to be new names every day. Indiana, like you said, has got 4 roster spots to fill. So until they fill all those up, Indiana's going to be pretty aggressive in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and they're going to have to get them because, like I said, you cannot count on, and this has nothing to do with Gabe Cupps, but you can't count on a guy coming in out of high school after we know that the level play gets to, in whether it's in conference or in NCAA tournament. That's a different level, man. And it takes a special freshman to be able to navigate that and that level of play. The Big Ten teams, you mentioned Ohio State. I know Maryland is doing very well in talking to portal guys as well. Those 2 different teams there, Maryland was just off from being really good this year. They were a tournament team. They could win at home, could not win on the road. Ohio State, however, had just a horrific season with one of the top freshmen in the country in Bryce Sensabaugh. But they have good recruits coming in, and if they can hit the portal, man, their fortunes can change like that. And so they can be a team that changes overnight. So we don't know who's going to be doing what in the Big Ten. We do know that Purdue is going to be basically the same team, and Michigan, I don't know what the hell they're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten it's got a lot more questions than answers for sure after the season. You got a lot of guys that transferred out of the Big Ten. You obviously you said Purdue's going to be, they're pretty much going to be the same team. I would expect Zach Edey to obviously come back and everything, and you've got the freshmen. The incoming sophomore guards, I guess, but they've also got a good freshman class coming in with Miles Colvin from Indiana. Those guys. So Indiana, I don't know. Obviously, they're an incomplete team right now. I don't know exactly where they would fit, as far as projections in the Big Ten coming into the next season.
Don't
But
even
teams,
think about it. No more
yeah,
projections, man.
no
No
more.
more projections.
I don't think fans want to hear projections anymore. So, but
I don't
they'll
want to
be
hear.
here.
I don't want to hear projections, and I'm damn sure not making any until we're like I keep saying, till we're deep into the season. You
Yeah.
just there's no way to know anymore.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Maryland. I really like what Coach Willard's done with them. They've got a great, freshman class coming in, and like you said, they have hit the transfer portal pretty hard. So they're definitely a team to watch out for next year. And Ohio State, I think, will be a lot better than what they were this year. They had some injury issues, and especially if they can get someone like Jameson Battle, that's going to take them to the next level. Obviously, they won't have Sensabaugh next year. I mean, he'll be going to the NBA, but they've got a good team. And I think that was just a rare down year for Chris Holtman and Ohio State. So Big Ten's chaotic right now. And, it probably won't be, the Big Ten teams won't settle in until probably next month at the earliest. So we'll just see how it shapes out. But I know you look at Mike Woodson, he's really trying to not, how should I say this? He's really trying to build a team that's both competitive in the Big Ten, but can also make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. That's what he's trying to do. His first 2 years, he just hasn't had that balance yet. So that's what he's trying to do. He realizes that, the Big Ten teams struggle in the NCAA tournament, and he's got to try to get out of that rhythm, that Big Ten rhythm that they show in the NCAA tournament.
And everyone says that because they have not won a national title since 2000. Was it 2000 or 2001? But
2000.
Yeah, Michigan State. But the Big Ten didn't used to have any problems winning in the NCAA tournament. What? I don't know that something has changed that much because they still have good teams. This year they didn't have any great teams for certain, but that's the thing. They just haven't had great teams here of late. I don't think some good ones, but not great. And that's just the difference to me, is just having great players.
Yeah. Obviously they've had great players in the past, but I wish I had answers for this, but for whatever reason, the Big Ten just wants to stick to their style. They want to stick to that physicality. They want to beat each other up and everything. They want to stick to the conference style. But you get schools that are from the Big 12, the SEC, that are a lot more athletic. And the game of basketball, I feel like, has changed in the past few years and everything like that. You see a lot more athleticism in teams, and teams with more athleticism are going to make deeper runs. They're going to teams with more shooting are going to make deeper runs. Big Ten just hasn't adjusted yet to that style, and I think Mike Woodson, from watching afar for all those years, realizes that. Obviously, when you got a guy like Trace Jackson Davis, you're going to play through him and everything. But I think deep down, Mike Woodson's a little bit excited to finally start getting his type of style that he wants in Indiana. He wants more wings, he wants more guards, and he wants highly athletic forwards and post players and everything, but he wants to play through the guards and he wants to play through the wings. So if he can start getting his guys in, getting those positions filled, I think Indiana can finally figure it out. And then I think they could be a team that could start making deeper runs in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think that Mike Woodson's tired of getting beat 3-2, basically. Yep. Because you look at some of the great games, the big wins, they sweep Purdue, the Big Ten champions, but yet they get drilled by Iowa at home. They give up, they lose, they get swept by Iowa, actually. They get swept by Northwestern, two teams that just outshot Indiana, basically. And to be truthful, they should have won probably 3 out of those 4 games, a minimum between those, just in those 4 alone, but they didn't, and that's what has to change. And so it's going to be, it'll be exciting to see next year what they get in, but we don't have to wait long. We'll have an idea of what they'll have, like you said, in probably a month or so. I'd say that I don't know if they'll have all 4 slots filled in a month, but they'll be a lot further along than they are now.
Yeah, for sure. It just comes down to being patient, with any team right now. As these kids, they really want to make a good decision. And you also throw in the NIL situation, they got to do some negotiating themselves. They got to figure out, what's going to offer the best money, what school, what's going to offer the most playing time. And I think that's, those are the two main factors. Kids want, a great NIL deal, and they want playing time. So it's going to be a process, but I would expect about a month or so you'll start seeing what this Indiana team is going to look like coming into the next season.